Hey there, this is Brooke with RogueDeckBuilder.com. I'm here with this week's Daily Brew, which is a Golgari mid-range deck here. I've taken a couple of things from the past couple weeks of brews from other people and decided to come up with my own. I haven't been really happy with the way that the other decks have been playing. Some of them I felt lacked a little bit too much, and some of them I feel like were a little bit too over the top. But I like things from both of the decks. So, and I don't know how well this will work in Standard, but I feel like this has some staying power. It might work as a Jund deck. You could do Jund for things like Slaughter Games, Domri, Mizzium Mortars, Skullcrack, things of that nature. I feel like those cards would be beneficial to this build, and you could get rid of a few things that may or may not help out this deck. Like these Boon Satyrs could very easily come out to put in 2 Domries, and things like Skullcrack, or things of that nature. I mean, really, most of the things like Slaughter Games, Mizzium Mortars, and Skullcrack are all going to be sideboard cards. So I feel like you could lose 2 of these Boon Satyrs and bring in Domri main board, as he would add a lot to this deck. And you could even obviously swap out the Vraskas for the Domris as well. I feel like Vraska does have a place in Standard, and she just hasn't found the niche yet. And who knows, we may even hit that niche when we branch into Journey into Nyx. So yeah. Going ahead and getting into this a little bit here, in the 1-drop slot, I did have Experiment 1. I did like the way this performed. Everything in this deck, besides Experiment 1, involves Experiment 1. I didn't want to go with Elvish Mystics as well, because they do not evolve the Experiment 1. And I feel like Experiment 1 is a good enough 1-drop on its own that we don't need other 1-drops to back it up. It does have regeneration. You can remove counters from it, and it does a great job as an early on creature. So it has that going for it, and it just has so much staying power. And I really like the way it works in these Golgari mid-range builds. So we do have that going for us, and yeah, Michael's the one that kind of turned me onto this card, and Amsterdam as well used it in a Golgari mid-range build, and I really liked the way it performed there too. It does trade early on with a lot of things that other people play, such as the Sylvan Caryatids and the Ramp decks and things of that nature, and it can just get really big really fast. This 2-drop slot, for removal, I have 1 Devour Flesh and 3 Abrupt Decays. I think the Abrupt Decays are good enough that they belong main board as removal. They hit so many things that it's just insane. And in games where they aren't relevant, I feel like the Golgari Charms, the Bile Blights, or the Hero's Downfalls in the sideboard can come in to take their place against better matchups like the mono black matchup. I feel like Abrupt Decay hits really well, but Golgari Charm can also work a lot better if they're playing pack rats, as you want to hit their pack rats really early on, and you may not want to waste an Abrupt Decay on that. So we do have Devour Fleshes and Heroes Downfalls in the main board as well that we can take out for that purpose, but I feel like Devour Flesh does good enough against mono black. The Deadly Recluses I've run 3 of. I feel like they are so relevant in the format. They kill Nightveil Specters, they kill Desecration Demons, they just take care of a lot of problems for us when we hit the field with them. And a lot of times they aren't as prone to the removal, as people don't see them as big of a threat, but they really are very relevant, I think, in the format right now, and that's why I run them as a 3 of, and I may even go up to a 4 of with them and just drop one more of the removal, because they are so relevant in the format right now. They do hit so many of the things out there. Again, they hit the Stormbreath Dragons of the world as well for the green-red monsters matchups. And I do run 4 of the Sylvan Caryatids because the ramp is relevant, and you do want to make sure you hit your lands very well. The one thing I am sad about, but I am excited for Journey into Nyx, is we are going to get our Scryland, which is going to help a lot with scrying away cards that we don't necessarily want. And the Scrylands work really well with the Courser of Kruphix, which we run 3 of as well. I don't feel like 4 is necessary because while it is a fantastic card and while it does a great job, it's not always needed. But I mean, it is a fantastic card and does so much work when you play with the top card of your library revealed. So that does really well, and just gives you the chance to skim off lands and play your lands. Make sure you hit your land drops, and you can play them straight off the top of your library, so you don't have to wait until your draw step. You can play your land on your upkeep and actually draw your actual card, which makes a huge difference, I believe, in the game as far as the speed of the game goes. So that's really, really relevant ability. The Boon Satyrs I like just because it's a combat trick. You can flash them in, bestow them on a creature for 4/2, which can be just deadly. It turns your Courser of Kruphix into just a monster. It turns it into a 6/6. It can turn a blocking Sylvan Caryatid into a 4/5. I mean, it gets insane. Deadly Recluse, it can just buff your Deadly Recluse to death, which turns your Deadly Recluse into a 5/7, or no, I'm sorry, it doesn't. Not a 5/7, a 5/4. So yeah, it just has huge impact on the game, and in and of itself, it's a 4/2 for 3. So that's never a bad trade either if you just need to solid cast it. I do run 2 Heroes Downfall in the main board just because there's so many Planeswalkers out there right now. I feel like you have to have an answer for them. And in decks where you run really big Planeswalker issues like your Esper Control, things of that nature, you're going to want to take out your Devour Flesh and your some of your other things that might not be as necessary, like your Deadly Recluses. As they're not going to be running flyers, you can bring in your Heroes Downfalls, and you can bring your Golgari Charms against the Esper decks, and you can get rid of a lot of this other stuff like the Abrupt Decays. You definitely want to keep in during that matchup because of the effect that they have on their detention spheres. So your Golgari Charms and your Abrupt Decays and your Heroes Downfalls are going to be really important in those matchups. And I still think you would only want to run maybe three of the Heroes Downfall in the Esper Control matchup, because you're going to want to hit Jace and you're going to want to hit Elspeth. But your Pithing Needle can help against that as well in the sideboard. And your Mistcutter Hydras and your Skylashers definitely come in against these Deadly Recluses, maybe even the Sylvan Caryatids of the world. And you wait till they tap out on the end of their turn, and you can play your Boon Satyrs and stuff on their turn, which can, on their end step, which can sometimes get you the staying power to keep your Boon Satyrs. And plus, you can bestow these Boon Satyrs on your Skylashers and your Mistcutter Hydras, and it's really hard for them to deal with without things like their Supreme Verdicts. And actually, one thing I didn't think about that I might actually add to this deck is Thoughtseize. I don't know what I would take out for Thoughtseize at this point. I might actually cut down to 3 Mistcutter Hydras and just get rid of the Bile Blights altogether for 3 Thoughtseize in the sideboard, because that's going to be really relevant against Esper matchups as well. And I don't know if we need both the Skylashers and the Mistcutter Hydras, but I like the flash on the Skylasher. I think it's really relevant. And I might even cut down to 3 of the Heroes Downfall in the sideboard as well as that. And I might even just run 2 Golgari Charms in the sideboard, but Golgari Charm is extremely relevant in the format right now. So I definitely want to keep those as a big option for bringing out either the Abrupt Decays or the Downfalls and the Fleshes. Bow of Nylea, I believe, has a big place in this deck. This has so much staying power as well. You can deal 2 damage to a target creature with flying, so that can be really relevant as well. It doesn't take out Nightvale Specters, but you can flash in a Skylasher, and that has reach as well, so that's 2. and your Bow of Nylea can deal 2, so you can take out a Stormbreath Dragon with nothing but a Skylasher and a bow. I think that's really relevant. And as well as that, you can put +1/+1 counters on creatures. And because of that, I almost ran Corpse Jack in this deck. I almost did. But I don't think that it has as much effect in this deck as what I want it to. Because really, the only things that's going to hit are going to be the Arbor Colossus and the Polukranos. And you can dump a bunch of mana into those, which is one of the reasons I ran one single Nykthos. Is because if we get a bunch of this stuff on the field, most of our double greens and our Boon Satyrs and our Courser and our triple green and Arbor Colossus can get us really far with monster-sting Polukranos, our Polukranos and Arbor Colossus, as they have a lot of staying power. And I like the fact that we can combo Arbor Colossus with Bow of Nylea and put it out of the range of a Desecration Demon. So I feel like this deck has a lot going for it here. The Reaper of the Wilds does just a ton of work. You can give it hexproof and it has tons of staying power. So I feel like that's really relevant as well. And the Whip just adds the lifelink for some of the longer games if you happen to hit it. I only want to run one of it because I'd never want to see more than one of that card. Absolutely never. It's really there just as a bonus. If you hit it, great. If not, that's okay too. And it gives you the ability to bring back some of your bigger creatures. You can't really bring back a Polukranos except as a 5/5 unless you just have a bunch of land that you want to dump into it as well. But I really feel like this has all the elements to be able to have staying power in the current meta. And again, we'll probably want to play around with the cards a little bit. I want to take this base first of all and play a couple games with this, and then we'll start adjusting the sideboard a little bit from there, and maybe even the main board a little bit, just to see how the deck reacts to certain things. And again, I'm not necessarily opposed to splashing red for Domri's in here. If Domri's the only thing we run in this whole deck that's red, I feel like he's still relevant. Vraska, I think, does a ton of work, as she basically gives herself Death Touch to +1. She has a negative impact immediately because you can destroy a target non-land permanent, which hits Planeswalkers, it hits enchantments, it hits all kinds of things. I think the one thing that we are missing here is an exile ability. So that's going to be really tough to get around. We don't have a way to exile gods when they hit the field, so our basic plan of action at that point is just to keep them from hitting Devotion. And Mogus is so irrelevant in the format right now that I don't think it's going to be a huge deal to deal with that. So yeah. And if you ever do get off Vraska's ultimate, I mean, it's just fun to try to get them little the black assassin tokens through for some damage and try to win the game that way as well. It's kind of been a goal of mine since I started playing Magic, was to get Vraska's ultimate off and actually win the game by getting that token through. But we'll see how this functions. I feel like it has a lot of staying power, and it's just kind of a combination of other things that I've kind of been messing around with, and it's all around is going to do fairly well. So yeah. But if you see any odd matchups here that this doesn't work again, I feel like it's got staying power against RD monsters. I feel like it's got staying power against things like the mono black list, the mono blue list. I feel like we have answers to as well. We have a ton of flying defense, which seems to be a huge issue in a lot of decks. And we have a lot of early game as well with the Deadly Recluses, Experiment 1s, Abrupt Decays, Devour Flesh, Sylvan Caryatid, into Bow of Nylea, Boon Satyr, Coursers, and then we just round out with Reapers, Arbor Colossus, Polukranos. I feel like there's not a step of the game where we don't have something to do. So, and again, there may be something out of here that's missing, or that you see that's a little out of place, or you're like, why are you playing that? You should be playing this. And I'm trying to stay away from just playing the best cards in the colors. Yes, I could put Desecration Demon in here, and yes, it probably would be great. And if I end up going out, I'll probably take out 2 Reapers and throw in 2 Desecration Demons. But I don't know that I want to go that route because I like maintaining control of my own creatures. I don't like giving my opponent the option of playing the creatures. So I like this setup as far as, because like I said, I'm not trying to play the best creatures possible in this color combination here, because I feel like so many people try to do that and it just doesn't work because there's not really great amount of synergy between the cards and a lot of staying power. And I just want to have an answer for every deck as much as possible in these colors, and I feel like this is kind of the best of all the combos we can put together in these colors. So again, if you see something that you feel should have been in this deck, please by all means comment and let us know, because I feel like this is going to be a decent deck to play. I don't know how it'll do against things like the Jund Dredge or the Simic decks that are out there, or the Bant decks that are out there. I don't know how the staying power will be against that, but the protection from blue and the Mistcutter Hydras and Skylashers I think is going to get us a long way against those decks. So, and a lot of the times the lifelink on those decks is what kills us. So again, Erebos may be another good option for this deck as a 1 or 2 of, maybe, to try to limit the amount of life that these bigger decks can gain, like the Esper control list and the American control list, as they run a lot of things that are hard for us to deal with. But again, I feel like we have a lot of stuff that's out of range of a lot of those decks. Because as we have the field and we have the Courser on the field, we can get Courser out of the range of Visium Mortars extremely fast as well. So, and again, all it takes is bestowing a Boon Satyr on Courser, and she's way out of the range of Visium Mortars. And I feel like that card is really relevant in the format right now, and gets sideboarded in a lot against decks like this. So, yeah, definitely let us know what you think, and would be glad to hear some opinions and some thoughts on this deck. And but yeah, this is our daily brew for the week, and hope you guys enjoy it. This has been Chuck with RodeckBuilder.com, and thanks for watching.